throughout the installation of this entire AC project, I've been thinking about one thing, and that's the routing of the vents. So after I figured out where all the vents go through these illustrations, I know the two tops are just basically self-explanatory, so those I'm going to use. But what I don't like is these four actually goes to a pod that you are to attach under the dashboard. This is for the center and for the passenger side, and this one right here is for the driver's side. And all this gets attached under the dashboard, and to me that's definitely ugly. I don't like it, I don't want it, and my whole purpose when I saw that was to figure out how to bypass that and make it look more factory. So I went into the service manual and I found the illustration for the Nova, and I noticed that there's a center unit that goes in the center of the car, and then of course there's one on the right side, and then there's one on the left side. So now the vintage air unit came with these vents, and it came with 4 of them, and basically it came with 2 smaller vents, which are for the center, and 2 larger vents, which are for the left and right side. So let me show you the plan for the side vents, which is very, very easy to implement. I'm not going to use that system, the pod that goes under the dashboard. So what I decided to do was, I'm going to make a hole and I'm going to just attach it there, and that will actually copy what the factory did. And the cool thing is that it has these clips already part of the unit, that once I make that hole, that square hole, all I gotta do is just push it in, snaps into place. So I will be doing that for both sides, the passenger and for the driver's side on the dashboard. Now the center vent, with the help of other Nova owners, I did some research and I asked for some pictures, and they showed me a picture of a Nova that had air conditioning, and it looked exactly like this dashboard. When I saw that, my eyes lit up, and I had to figure out how they attached the center vents to this hole if it looks exactly the same. Now my car is not an AC car, but obviously from the looks of it, all the Novas were made with this. At least that's my interpretation, looking at this car being a non-AC car. It has the capability of becoming an AC car quite easily. So you see here, there's the mounting points. So now with that, and of course again the help of other Nova owners, they actually provided me part numbers to the center vent duct that goes to these cars, and that's this right here, and that's the part number. So I managed to locate this, and I grabbed it as soon as I found it. And so this is an original Nova AC car vent thing that goes on to the dashboard. Now there's a second part to it, and that's the actual center outlet assembly. So I had to order that, and that actually gets attached in here. Now here is the problem. That big hole, that's the problem that I had to face. And this is the unit's holes. Basically I just unscrew it. It has 2 screws, you just unscrew it and it pops right out. So I went to Home Depot to figure out how I'm going to remedy this, to get the hoses from here to here. And I decided that I needed to convert these 2 vents into one 3-inch vent. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you how I come across in figuring this out. Basically, I just got an aluminum vent from Home Depot and a sheet of plexiglass. So I'll show you what I'm going to do as I progress. So the first thing is cut the vents off. Now there's no going back. So basically I just cut the vents off, and they're basically right here. So I just discard those, I don't need them anymore. And the second step is to cover up that entire hole, the whole thing. And so what I need to do is cut a piece of plexi, and here it is. This is the piece of plexiglass. And so just to show you how it's done, in case there was people that had questions on it, basically what I do is I'll strap the plexiglass onto the table. So in this case I'm just going to use my clamp here, and then you take something that's going to give you as a guide, and you basically just make a couple scribes marks. So this is just a demonstration purposes. I'm not going to get into perfection. So just make a couple scribe marks and be careful that thing don't move. So after you have the scribe mark there, you basically put it at the edge of the table, and what I like to do is I like to reinforce the area that I want. So let's just say this is the one I want, this is garbage. Just take it and put it right at the edge of the table, right where the scribe line is, and then basically just give it one swift whack, and there it is. And then of course you take your blade and you cut the plastic, and there you have plexiglass cut the way you would like it. So there it is. That's basically how easy it is to cut plexi. So now the next step is I need to make a hole in the center of this, and the hole is for this so that I can attach it. So that's what I'm going to do next, and I'm going to have to figure out what center, and then I'll start making my hole, and then we'll get back to the process in figuring this out. Okay, so here's the plastic piece, and I got my hole cut out, and I cut it just a little bit smaller than 3" and I had to custom cut it, so I basically used a Dremel to shape it. And then the next thing I did was this vent duct or whatever it's called has 2 rivets. So basically I just grinded off one of the rivets so that I'm able to shrink it down a little bit on one side, and basically that would allow me to fit it in place like so. So you can see, and I can slide it all the way up. Now there's like a, you can see there's an extension here like a lip. So basically I'm gonna remove this tape and slide it up as far as possible, and then I'm going to make cuts onto this so that I can actually attach it on the inside of this. It's kind of hard to explain, so I'll have to show you. And then as far as this part of the vent, I will cut, now that I have the circle here, I can just basically insert this in place, and you can see the circle that I need to cut. So I will make my mark and cut out that circle, and that will further reinforce this plexiglass because I'm going to attach this plexi to this plastic. So I'm going to do that right now. So I got it all cut, and I did my custom cut, and basically I had to make marks on this so that when I have it inserted inside, since it's a custom hole that I made, I had to ensure that the cuts that I made on either side matched the hole perfectly, so that when I install it on the inside I don't have a problem with the alignment. So I made marks, little arrows, just to ensure that when I put it in, it comes out perfect. So you can see the cut is exactly in line with the plexi. And so then I also took the liberty in taking my door block and 150 grit sandpaper, and there it is, 150, and I basically just sanded this down nice and flat because I didn't like the way it came out when I cut it. And so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take some just regular old epoxy, and this one is one that already mixes as it comes out the tube, and it's a quick setting epoxy, and I'm going to fill all of this area on the outside with epoxy, and of course put some epoxy on the 4 corners so that when when I attach it onto this plastic, it'll glue itself to the four corners, and then the epoxy on the outside will further reinforce this whole thing and make it into one unit. And then that way, when I insert my vent duct on the inside, I don't have to worry about moving the plexi around and holding it in place. It'll be as one unit, so it'll be perfect. And then I will work on this to get it attached onto this plastic permanently. So here it is, all epoxied in, and I filled up that hole, that void that was in with all epoxy, and I gave it a little bit of a truck bed coating on it just to even out the colors just a little bit. And there's the inside, all epoxied. So now I have my vent. You can see that there's the two side vents, and there's the two, well, the single center vent that will be two vents when I get the unit. So that's pretty much it. Now the last step in the process is to get this in there and bolt it up. So here it is, the cuts that I had to make for the tabs that I want to go under to fix itself onto the 4 points. And so now I just got to put it in, and this lip here will be flushed with this over here, and because there's a little gap, I'll be able to fill it with silicone and seal it against this plastic thing, and then of course bolt it down with these tabs. So I'm going to do that right now, and then we'll look at the finished product. Finished product. So you see my 4 screws, my 4 mounting points, and it's sticking out of there nicely, and here's the bottom. You can see what I was trying to design when I was figuring that out. So I got my 4 mounting points, and this is definitely affixed on here really good. And so I have a crevice, as you can see right here, right where the thing bends upward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually fill that void all the way around with this stuff here, ultra gray. I love this silicone. This is my favorite silicone. I always use this one because it dries really rigid and it's really strong. So I'm going to just mold it nicely, try to make it look like this right here. And you can see the way Vintage Air kind of welded the plastic. So I'm going to try to make that look all the way around, and then I'll paint the whole thing black with my truck bed coating so that it all looks black again. The inside here I won't paint because I noticed that when this thing gets hot, it gets hot real fast, and when it gets cold, it cools down super quick. So this is going to be efficient. And so now all I will need to do is I will need to get another one of these and insert it in this hole, because this hole is slightly bigger than 3" so I'll do that. That way I can connect the Vintage Air hose. If I decide to go with the hose, it goes on the inside nicely, nice and tight, and I would be able to make it go on the inside here nice and tight if I put one of these on the stock piece. And there it is. Problem has been solved. And I'll have the Nova looking more stock, and I don't have to use that ugly pod which is there. So the finished product is now back on the unit. And so there it is. So we have my dual, these are left and right vents, and the dual vent center. It's right there. And then of course these over here are for my defrost, and the floor vents are back here, right here. So they go on either side. But I'm very happy. And then now I can take my big old hose, stick it in there, and it's a nice tight fit. So I have to work it in. I could just basically stick it in there and then just route my vent where it needs to go. And that's up to the center vent, which the center vent assembly would have to be in this. but that's on order and it'll be here in a couple days. So there, fully complete. I'm very happy with the way it came out. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching.